Hello, so this is Harvey from Echo, and this video I'm going to show you how to make this bass. So yeah, that's a couple of random automations from that sound. Just remember, if you'd like to download this project file, you can then go through and try and reverse engineer it, or you can make the sound your own, or you can just use it however you want, really. So before we get into how I made the sound, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. They've got some really great tutorials coming out. I've got some tutorials coming out on this as well. It'll be a load of fun, and plus, so you don't miss tutorials like this. Okay, so let's get into it. So here we are with a fresh project. I'm now going to show you how I made this bass. So we made the bass on Massive to start off with. It's a pretty popular synth, as you all know, so let's open that up. Now, the concept of this bass that I wanted to get was make a really hard, sort of phasey, flangy sound, and then carve out frequencies with the filtering to make it more modulated. So first of all, when designing a sound like this, the important is the source sound, so the sound you have before you filter it. So the first step in this is choosing the wavetable you want to use and finding the good sort of harmonics and waves inside it. So if we just go through the different wavetables, so for example, quite a popular one, Scrapyard. So the first wavetable I found that I really liked was Dirty Needle. I just found it had some good waves in there that would gave the sort of sound I wanted. So you can hear it kind of changes quite drastically with the high end, but also with the mids. However, we didn't use the spectrum setting. If you go up here, click on bend, minus, and plus, and it gives this sort of more sawtooth type sound. We could pitch it down by 12 as well, so it gets the proper region of which you're playing the bass in. I just felt that the bend, plus, and minus gave it more variation. So what we're going to do is look for a wavetable position between here and here or so that sounds good, modulated, and then we'll put an LFO on it. So sounds quite good from like here to there to there. So we're going to whack an LFO on it and make it quite a slow rate, so it moves quite slowly. Maybe a bit slower actually. So that's pretty good for what we got at the minute there. Also, what we're going to do, when you initially open Massive, it sets this horrible envelope, so just take the attack down, whack the level up, so it plays the sound in its fullest volume. So we're going to make a pitch envelope. So all I literally did was just whack envelope 1, put it down to -5, and then just take the attack to however long you want it to go to, and then also whack the level up so it stays at that note. So that's a sort of good detuning sound. So the next oscillator I used was the Screamer oscillator. Also on the plus bend minus plus setting. So if I just turn this off, as you can hear, you've got some really cool harmonics in the mid to high end. So we're going to leave it about there, and then also put the LFO on here, but we're going to change the length of it, so make it quite long, because this will give it the sort of growly texture that we want to be filtered out. Now from here, what I do is obviously put the same envelope on, so down 5, so it all moves in unison. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it up from 0. So that works pretty well. Maybe change the wavetable position a bit more. So that's pretty good. So the next thing we're going to look into is the modulation oscillator. Now, first of all, before we even go into the phase, we've got to do the pitch envelope and pitch it down 12. So pitch down 12 and then put the envelope on there. Do it to -5. There we go. So now we can start playing with the phase. So we're going to be doing the phase on oscillator 2. So I've just turned oscillator 1 off so you can hear it. So you can hear it really has some good harmonics coming from about the middle all the way to about 2 o'clock. So actually I'm going to do it from a bit before, just so we can see how it sort of sounds from there. So I'm going to use LFO 5 again. So whack that over there, and not going to move it too much. But you can hear it kind of changes quite drastically. And then let's put it back with oscillator 1. So that works pretty well for the minute. So the next thing we're going to go into is the inserts, and the inserts are pretty important before we go into the filtering, because the inserts are routed before the filter. So, and this is talked about more often in this tutorial as well. So if we just quickly go into, we're going to be using the parabolic shaper. I find this is really good on harder sounds like this. So turn the dry wet all the way up, and then you can start to hear what the drive is doing. So it's really crunching down on the sound, as you can hear. And then also try switching between the different phases. Sounds more bassy if you've got it around this area. Okay, so the next thing I want to do before I go into the filtering again is go into the voicing. Now, the voicing is going to make the sound a lot more thicker in texture. So we're going to put the unison up to 3. It's already starting to get quite loud, so I'm going to turn the volume of the mouse down. And then I'm going to adjust the pitch cutoff so it detunes enough. So that's pretty detuned. Okay, so next we're going to go on to the filtering. So for the first filter, I've used double notch. And find the cutoff where the notch really starts to take effect. So turn the volume all the way up, and the mix all the way up. So you can really hear the effect if I sweep down from there. So really nice sort of combing effect there. So we're going to put a different LFO on this. So I'm going to put LFO 6. And just a bit slower. And also I'm going to put the filters to serial and put all the oscillators up to filter 1, because filter 1's the only one we're using. Excellent, so the next thing we're going to get into is just the effects and the EQ. So the only effect I've used on this is the dimension expander, just to increase its space. So if I sort of show you, take the size down a bit. Now the way I tend to work with the dimension expander is actually on the release of the sound, so when I let go of the note, you can hear the effect of the space that it's adding, and that's how I like to work with it, so it's worth having a go with that technique. So for example, if I set the size really high, it's got a lot longer delay when you take the note off. So, not too much for delay, but enough. So really sort of gnarly sound. And then we're going to go into the EQ and just boost the low of it a bit more. And also a bit of the high end. And take the master down a bit more. Okay, so that's the sound we've got so far. If you want to go ahead and make this your own sound, some parameters I would recommend trying differently is the wavetable positions. Try different wavetables, and also mess with the phase on oscillator too. Okay, so next we're going to get into the effects. So the first effect I worked on was a saturator. Now with this idea of saturation I'm going to show you, I call it stacked saturation, and stacked effects are quite popular within, well, various different genres, but it's quite an unknown one in electronic music because electronic music is quite destructive. But basically the idea of it is you have multiple instances of something, maybe an effect such as saturation or compression is quite a popular one, but with small increments and small amounts, so it gives this overall bigger compressed or saturated sound. So I'm going to put the driver at about, not too much, maybe about 5 dB or so, and whack soft clip on as well, and also go through the different modules you like. So for this one in particular I used medium curve because soft sine was hard, medium curve was just a bit hard, but hard curve is too hard. And as you can see, it's already being smashed quite a lot through the output. Okay, so the next effect I'm going to be going through is the filtering. So this is where the proper movement of the filter comes in. So for this, I used a bandpass filter. So already you can hear the sort of sound that's going to become. However, from here we want to enhance this. So we want to enhance these filter movements. Now, the way that I kind of go about it is with the stacked compression idea. So in the new Ableton 9.7 update, I believe it is, you've now got these new filter modules that include clean or OCR, which is a form of saturation or overdrive that you can feed into the filter. So this is how I do the stacked saturation effect. Now with this sound in particular, because the bandpass is only a certain band, I boost the drive of it quite a bit more than 5, so just enough so you can hear the effects coming in quite a lot. So the best way to figure out how much is enough is when you hear the mid. So that's a good amount, about 11 or 12 or so. And just for ease of use, I'm going to map the frequency to my MIDI keyboard. Cool. So the next thing we're going to get into is the erosion effect. Now, basically what this does is it adds sine noise or white noise upon whichever frequency you choose. And I use this effect to add more of the high frequencies in there when it's being filtered down. So for example, if I show you this effect, you can hear it's coming through quite hot. And then when you filter up, now that's way too much, just saying. Maybe a little bit less. So when you filter it all the way down, such as here, you can still hear a bit of it, whereas without you can't. So that's actually the frequency I kind of want anyway. Not too much of an amount, because the other stacked saturation I'm going to be doing later on will also add to the effect of this erosion. It's just to give some more high presence in the sound. So the next effects we're going to be using are more notch filters, because we've already used a dual notch filter on this, so why not 4? Yeah, again, we're going to be using the notch filters there and also on the OCR, but we're going to be pushing the drive not too much on this one. So first of all, let's find a standing point where we want it to be modulating from. Also turn up the... So about there is pretty cool. Also, if it makes it a bit easier for you, you can turn off the bandpass so you can properly hear where it's taking out the frequencies. Awesome, so that's pretty good. So I'm going to increase the LFO. And also increase the drive. So not too much at all, only 2.8, nothing really that much. So I'm just going to duplicate it, which is Command D. And affect the settings in this. So I'm just going to turn this one off. May make it a bit of a faster one. and change the frequency as well. So it's a pretty destroyed sound so far. And then when you add the bandpass filter back on, okay, so the next effect we're going to be using is Multiband dynamics, and that's just to basically increase the highs and take out the mids a bit more. So I'm just adjusting the output volume of them, so it's around 2.5 and in between 2.5 and 120 hertz. So maybe take off this, just so it kind of sounds a bit sweeter in the top. And also take out some of the mids as well. Excellent. So the next effect we're going to be using is compression now, particularly the glue compressor. I find the glue compressor is really good for if you want to compress after you've done some filtering. Now, the concept behind compressing after you've done notch filtering in particular is that you've taken out and carved out frequencies. Now with compression, you want to basically bring some of the silences back up to the volume of the other frequencies, so it gives this more thicker sound basically. So I'll show you the settings I usually go for when I try this technique and see the gain reduction it does. So let's take the threshold down, also keep soft clip on so it doesn't clip over. So you can see it's quite a destroyed sound so far. Put the ratio up a bit more, and maybe the attack, and just take the release. I could leave it all around there, and then just increase the makeup gain quite significantly. So it's a lot louder. So that's basically just compressing all the frequencies you've taken out. Now, the last effect we're actually going to be doing is amp, and it's not to distort it or anything, it's actually just to enhance the sound basically. So if you set the output to mono and basically bring up the dry wet, I'll show you the effect it has. So if I just kind of... Obviously dry wet 100% is way too much. Sorry about that. So let's set the dry wet from 0 and start figuring out whereabouts it sounds best. So you can hear it just kind of bites it just a little bit then. And there we go, that's the sound. So obviously if you like this video, it really helps out the channel if you give it a like and a subscribe. Also subscribe if you want to see more tutorials like this. I'll be doing a couple more as I mentioned earlier, and loads of other really cool producers doing some really cool stuff. If you have any thoughts about this, please comment below. And also this project is available to download, so you can see exactly how I've made the sound, how you can make it your own, and also how you can use it in your tunes. Awesome, thanks, bye.